have selected George Karlaftis. Big George! Here we go!
I am so beyond excited that Josh Simmons getting a crack at left tackle.
It's really hard to win the AFC Championship.
Is it?
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank member FDIC, our amazing partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. It is Kent Swanson, it is Maddie Lane, and it is my shirt brother, Craig Stout right now.
Shirt Brothers.
Shirt Brothers.
Oh, hi, Shirt Brother.
Oh, hi, Shirt Brother. How are we, Craig? I'm starting with you tonight.
Right as I was taking a sip of my bourbon there, my Bin Holiday, bottled in bond bourbon, by the way, plug. Anyway, yeah, we're doing great. Good day today. Happy to be sitting here talking football with my two pals. Yeah, looking forward to getting into some of the fun Super Bowl week things without the Chiefs being involved. It's a little bit odd to be in this scenario. Typically, we've been floating around the scenario, for the past few years, but here we are right now, getting to look a little bit forward and not be so concerned with what our content plan is going to be from the Super Bowl Radio Row and doing all of that stuff like we have been very fortunate to be a part of for the past 3 years. Maddie, how are you, buddy?
Oh, listen, I'm doing pretty terrible. I usually get his talk second on this podcast, and now I'm third. That's not cool. I feel like I have been isolated for not also wearing my hoodie because I'm inside the house, so I don't have a hoodie on because that's obviously.
Is there a bunch of snow out there?
Yeah, there is actually.
So perfect time.
Why would I wear a hoodie inside? My house isn't outside. I'm not recording the podcast outside, regardless of what's happening outside. It is 70 degrees in my house. Why would I wear a hoodie when it's you know what? See, this is why I'm doing terrible. Ken's trying to pressure me. He's trying to interrogate me over not wearing a hoodie inside, and he's pushing me outside of the group. I don't like this.
Let me try something on for size, just because typically I get thrown to third. You know what, Maddie? You're great, buddy. Matt is great.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you feel this way, but I really think you are fantastic and great. And I love you so much, buddy. Sorry that you feel a little down by our other pal who will not be named, on this podcast. But know that I care about you.
Well, I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you. I am feeling better now.
I want to understand why simply mixing up the order means I'm catching a stray here. I just want to understand that. All I did was just try to switch it up just a little bit. I was really excited to talk to Craig about being samesies. That's all. And I just really wanted to jump straight to that.
Yeah, screw me. That's okay. Fine. Skip over me because I didn't wear a hoodie inside.
It is one of those things. How many times have you gone to me second in the history of this podcast, including back pre-KCSN?
I feel like I used to go to you like when we first started. I thought I went to Craig first, then Maddie.
Point being, it is in the single-digit percentages. So yeah. I understand why Maddie feels slighted here. I understand here. I get it. Just because he's not wearing a nice, warm, cozy shirt doesn't mean that you need to make him feel cast out into the cold, Ken.
Steph Curry doesn't make every free throw, and I don't have to be 100% on every time throwing to Maddie Lane to start a show. Just let me have this one time. I probably won't do it for the rest of the calendar year. Just give me one. That's a 96
Steph Curry.
That's a nice
Steph Curry.
I can shoot it a little bit.
I don't believe you.
No.
You still don't believe me. I think you would be pleasantly surprised at how well I can shoot a basketball.
I'm coming back to the draft. We can lace them up.
We cannot start this basketball conversation again. We cannot do this again.
I can say with confidence, I think in the KC Chiefs podcaster realm, if you're excluding the pro athletes, and even then.
Whoa, hang on.
I think Craig, I think you could post up like Anthony Sherman. Like I feel like you could post up Dustin Colquitt. That's all.
You should have started with that one and not Sherman, I think. But yeah I get what you're going for.
I feel like Sherman has a mean box out. Like I'm catching an elbow in a place that's going to be very uncomfortable for me from Anthony Sherman.
I was speaking more to our overall height. I mean, Craig, you're 6'5", 6'6". I'm 6 foot. Maddie's 5'9".
Okay, I can run the point though.
I would run the point. I'm a distributor. That's why I throw to you guys. That's why I threw to Craig. I dropped into the post immediately. We weren't looking at the block. We weren't looking at the wing today.
You gotta rotate the ball a little bit more, Kent. That's all we're asking.
Hey,
execute the offense, buddy.
You
Don't
can't
take it onto your own.
You can't ice out a teammate. You can't just start playing a 2-man game when there's 3 people out there like you did to start the show.
That's true.
I didn't.
My effort's gonna wane.
I trusted my teammates. I wanted the ball to move a little bit. I wanted to move a little differently.
I'm gonna call Only Weird Games and demand a trade right now.
My effort's gonna wane is the most Maddie Lane thing to say right now at this point in the Chiefs offense. My effort's gonna wane. I'm letting you know.
Just so you know. Okay, fine. Anyways, I think we'd do okay for ourselves. And I think we would we'd have size. We would have Maddie, who's like our enforcer, Dennis Rodman. Yes, you've described your game exactly as Dennis Rodman. Like, do not. And I'm hanging out and parking and shooting whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Our offense is going to be great. Kent's going to be parked in the corner waiting for the ball, but he's also our distributor.
So I'm parked up top.
Work real well.
I'm parked up top.
Okay.
I just know I can give you a good entry. I give you a good entry pass.
Okay.
Let you work, and then I'll move to space and I'll hit the open jumper. And then we'll let you guard 3 people, Maddie, and me and Craig's knees can kind of just take a break. Be great.
Oh, Craig's knees are definitely taking a break. But we're 7 minutes into this podcast. What is this?
Yeah, well,
is this Only Weird Games? Maddie's dragging us to that because he got iced out. So should we talk some football, gents?
We can. I will say, I think I told you guys, me and Hamilton was a 2-man game a couple weeks ago. Me and Hamilton did a nice, crisp 70-minute show.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. We had a good time. You said 7 minutes. That's a great segue for ladies and gentlemen. Do we have the music for this, by the way, Craig?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We do not.
Yeah. Okay.
Hang on.
No.
As you talk,
play a version of music.
I just didn't know. I was
there.
going to say Craig hit our music because Craig is doing a little producing right now. But it is time, as I delay as much as I can for Craig Stout.
I mean, I can pick one.
Sure. Yeah. It's working.
Yeah, I like it.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh? No.
Not feeling it.
First
Okay.
one.
Let's do 7 minutes with Craig. Okay.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, this segment Sweeping the Nation, 7 minutes with Craig. Craig, continue the music.
Okay. I clicked the wrong button. Sorry,
You're doing
everybody.
it
But
too.
this is kind of marching. Everybody march next to me. Yeah, that's right. No. 7 minutes is thrown way off by this music right now.
I hope you go negative now.
Interesting to watch. No, I absolutely can't. I'm pausing that music. It's interesting to watch what the rest of the league is doing right now with the way that they're shaking out coaches. This happens every year, with new head coaches, new offensive coordinators come into the fold, and you get to see a little bit of a shakeup. Position coaches leave, guys move on from different roles and things like that. It's normal. I have never seen an offseason like this where it's been quite the shakeup that we have seen. And yeah, of course, that's to be the case with that many head coaching jobs open, 18 offensive coordinator positions now officially, because it sounds like Clint Kubiak is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. But to see some major shakeups, and the one that kind of rattled me today, Jeff Stoutland no longer going to be with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Sean Mannion bringing in his own people, everything like that. Man, I don't care if you think that you got a better chance to improve your offense or move on from something. I don't get why you fire even if I'm being generous here, a top 3 offensive line coach. You may be able to just call him top 1. I don't understand what the purpose of this is. And it just kind of puts what I was talking about last week, where there's so many open positions. There's so many different ways that teams are going right now. It seems like it really is just, there's no love lost. Everybody is on the chopping block and everybody can move on from anybody at the drop of a hat. Jeff Stoutland being gone is a primary example of that. It sounds like he's going to stay in the Philly area, but there has to be 31 other GMs, including the Chiefs, who love Andy Heck. I want to be clear. They love Andy Heck, but there's enough of a delta between what Andy Heck is and what Jeff Stoutland is, which is more about Jeff Stoutland being that good, to where you would consider something like that. How does a guy like this get out? How do you hire an offensive coordinator that can come in and make those sorts of changes? He seems like a non-negotiable to me. And maybe this is a situation where he wanted to be an offensive coordinator. He wanted a shot at that job, didn't get it. Maybe there's part of that there. Maybe he is just genuinely tired. I get that. It's time to move on. You feel good. You get older, you get tired and things like that. But to watch some of these moves happen, some of these things like Matt Nagy getting the New York Giants offensive coordinator gig, and congrats to Matt Nagy as a part of that. I'm glad that he landed a gig there. Sounded like Andy Reid had some conversations with John Harbaugh. It just speaks to not at all. Definitely not. I'm not saying that like Andy didn't just like call and be like, hey, you got to take this guy. That's not what I'm implying there. But I'm not implying that. I'm just trying to say, he's a reference and a guy that knows Andy very well. It just seems like we're shuffling the chairs a little bit in the NFL, even more than usual this year. There didn't seem to be very many inspired hires, guys that were let go that immediately moved to a different position. Kevin Stefanski, that's a great hire. He was just a head coach. We're not talking about like somebody that they're bringing into the fold. Clint Kubiak could be a good coach for the Raiders. I think he offers a solid baseline. I'm not looking at Clint Kubiak and going, oh, wow, I'm terrified of him. I think he's going to be the next great coach. I think he brings competency, and that's a big step up for the Raiders right now. It's a good hire. I believe that. It just doesn't feel like anybody went outside of their comfort zone in a major way this season and didn't try to really take a massive swing on somebody that could be a boom or bust candidate, or could be a situation where you finally get your new best head coach and your future, your franchise. It just didn't feel like that at all this cycle. And when I see guys like Stoutland getting pushed out, when I see guys that are just on the street and looking at the caliber of coaches that have been in this league, it feels like we're going to do this all over again next year. This next group of guys, oh, well, let's bring them back. Maybe Jim Schwartz, who's going to walk away from Cleveland, he'll be a defensive coordinator, a hot name next year. Or, now all of a sudden, Stoutland maybe takes a year off and he comes back and does that. It just feels very cyclical and recycling this year, even more so than usual in a league that is very heavy on recycling coaches. I'm just confused as to what all of these general managers and owners thought that they were doing this offseason. Let's fire and get rid of so many of these guys and just bring back guys that, frankly, aren't that great or are coming off of another state that aren't that great, and then maybe coming into a position where you're forcing out somebody that is an institution of offensive line. The whole thing is just wild to me this offseason. You found it. Where was it? Which one is it?
It's in background music called Daydreaming.
I clicked on that first, I thought.
Maybe I thought that was what you tried first too.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I went for, there's so much here. Coaching. Let's start there because I want to get to Stoutland at the end because there's some info. There's some stuff coming out about that and how wild that
is there?
is.
I may not be up to date on all this.
Okay, let's start there. Let's start there. No, I want to start there.
Can I theorize?
Sure.
Maybe not. the Eagles tried so many people to try to become their offensive coordinator. They had to settle for Sean Mannion. This could be a make or break year for Nick Sirianni. Does he just want out to just move on from whatever this is about to be in Philadelphia, especially since like the cap horizon is coming out here? Like it's going to be really difficult for them. Like in 2028, they pushed everything to then. I don't know.
It's worse. It's worse. So this is an article on ESPN. So yeah, it's by ESPN. I assume Tim McManus I'm assuming the Eagles guy that covers the Eagles there.
Yeah.
Throughout the year, since the offense wasn't clicking, Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo started adding run designs into the playbook without consulting the run game coordinator, Jeff Stoutland. They didn't even let him know. And so as the year went on, he didn't even want the title run game coordinator anymore because it wasn't his run game. And so he just kind of said, you know what, guys? I think I'm good here. I think this is it. This is how it's reported, is that it's kind of his decision because they were trying to do other stuff and they weren't even like consulting their run game guy about it.
Nick Sirianni is bad at his job.
I'm enjoying this.
And
I'm enjoying this. I'm not going to lie.
There is a Mannion element because he's coming in and installing a different offense that is different than what Stoutland does as the run game coordinator. But essentially he's like, I don't want to run what they run. Like, I don't want that to be the run game if I'm going to be the run game coordinator. So no, thank you.
Cowboys offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. That would be,
oh my God.
He has the chance to do the funniest thing ever.
Him and Clayton Adams working on stuff. Whoo.
I'm just saying, like, he should go somewhere. Go somewhere in the division. Does Harbaugh have his does Harbaugh have his O-line coach yet? Like, just stay in division and just torment Nick Sirianni in his last 9 games.
I was going to say, yeah, you're signing a 1-year deal so you can go follow him and torment him some more.
Yeah.
Goodness, man. That is unbelievable.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
That's some ring arrogance right there from Nick Sirianni. The ring has powers, man. And Nick Sirianni thinks he is way more important in his job than he is.
I love that they thought in the middle of the year the way to fix the offense was to add in your own run game designs and not try to fix Jalen Hurts. I love that was their answer. Was not to try to get Jalen Hurts to play better, but was, I don't think Jeff Stoutland is doing good enough at the one thing that we've better than everybody else. Let's try to circumvent it. Insanity.
Kind of makes.
Oh my God, that is baffling to me. That is it's even more baffling. I just thought it was Mannion came in and they just kind of went, well, buddy, we're at loggerheads here. It's time for you to move on. No, I get it. Like, if he's just like,
that was the final straw, it sounds like.
About
good.
This. Yeah.
I need to get my popcorn out.
Okay.
That's really what I gotta do.
On to your coaching point, I think specifically offensive coaches right now, it is just all turnover. And what you're seeing young guys that already failed are getting another shot already, and the cycle's going faster. And I think what's kind of happened is everybody was in such a race to hire the McVay friends, and there was success, but everybody's been so quick to hire. But now look how spread out that tree is and how fast it happened. There's like their assistant coaches are now coordinators and head coaches places. They're not able to they can't fill out roster like coaching staffs with what they want. And so whether the guy does a good or bad job, you have to look at the position coaches. You can hire all the McVay friends you want. You still got to fill out, what is it, like 11 teams now with other people? And where, if you're a 33-year-old head coach, where are you having those connections? Who are you drawing on for that stuff? So like you're kind of running into a dead period of, you don't have assistant coaches developing slowly to the point where they're ready to be coordinators, they're ready to be head coaches. So yeah, I do think you're going to hit a stretch here where you get a lot of retreads. You get some defensive guys or retreads for the next few years, because the next quote unquote wave of young offensive coaches, like there's got to be somewhere for them to learn. And right now, all these guys from that one tree keep getting plucked up. What's the next tree? Like, I mean, we saw Declan Doyle is now getting essentially a promotion out of the Chicago Bears, and he's like my age, right? And so he's just flying up the ranks right now. But like, what's the next tree that's going to come in? It's weird for an offensive coaching staff here.
I think this cycle probably should have been more defensive coaches. And they're just, and there's an argument to be made about that. And like, I think just in general, there was so many openings here that it just really shook the ground, and it just kind of shook things up entirely across the league so much. I mean, so many openings this season. A third of the league almost have a job available, and I just think that shift kind of upended everything here. Is really so there's a lot of chairs to fill and maybe not enough butts. And I think that's kind of what you saw a little bit this year. Just an anomaly of a season with so many openings, I think, is a contributing factor to it.
Yeah. I mean, you heard it here first. Kent says Jonathan Gannon should have gotten another shot somewhere else.
Yes, I did say that. We're going to take a break. Pew, 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 pew. And we'll be back right after this.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What's going on, everybody? It is Ben Heisler, KCSN betting analyst. Happy Super Bowl week to all of you. It is Super Bowl 60. And you know by now that it deserves a sports book that is built for the moment. We've been talking about them all season. Been great partners of ours, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60. It's putting you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. And listen, it's the Super Bowl. We've seen some wild things happen. And when anything can happen, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. There's no bonus bets. There's no waiting. It all comes together for you. It's going to be a fun matchup. We got the Patriots and the Seahawks. Seahawks right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, a 4.5-point favorite with the total sitting at 45.5. You want to take the Patriots on the money line, you can do so just under 2-1 odds at plus 190. Me personally, I'm leaning towards that number with the Patriots. Now, in fairness, we've seen this number go all the way up to Patriots plus 5.5. I ended up grabbing them right at the very beginning at plus 4.5, thinking that line might go down. I still think it will. I'm expecting this line to close somewhere around 3.5 to 4. So I think you can still get good value with a lot of that public money likely coming in on the Pats. So I'm on Pats plus 4.5. I think that's the right line here, and I think it's a good opportunity. But remember, here's what you really want to know, is that if you are new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You can get on board the props. There's different Super Bowl MVPs. If you want to take the quarterback plays or the long shot variety ones, all those are available for you at DraftKings Sportsbook. But here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Now, use that code KCSN, that is code KCSN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
It is kind of a bummer right now to be, I think Craig, I was trying to help too.
Listen, we can have two producers on this thing, baby. We got this.
I didn't know you were doing all of the producing. I was just going to help. But
hey, I appreciate it.
I knew you were doing the ad. I thought I'd just help you out there. For the audio only listeners are just completely lost right now. But thank you for listening. We appreciate that. We're such a weird existence for Chiefs fans right now. On the eve of the verge of the Super Bowl starting again, and we're here talking about the draft. We're here talking about all things happening free agency. We are already looking towards the Chiefs getting back and getting right. And so, yeah, our focus is definitely shifted away from what's happening this weekend, and it's focused more on things like the Chiefs' defensive line. And our buddy Charles Goldman does some exceptional work over at A to Z Sports. He wrote an article, a lot of musings today of things that he's kind of hearing, learning after the Senior Bowl, getting some intel. And one interesting thing from his great article that you should go check out: the Chiefs may cast a wide net to improve the defensive line. I'll read real quick from Charles' post. If there's one position group I could see the typical Brett Veach overcorrection for this offseason, it's the defensive line, both the interior and the edge rusher. I'm told the feeling on the personnel side is that they left a few too many things to chance during the 2025 NFL offseason. Injuries, a lack of development from draft picks, and certain UDFAs not taking a step forward all contributed to a down year for that group. The strategy on the interior defensive line with a trade to reacquire Derek Nottie and bringing Mike Pennell back midseason is one. The team is not too keen to repeat. Also, some optimism about Omar Norman-Lott. Reading between the lines, they didn't like what Fabian Levette did. Felix Anudike-Uzama's injury, sure, but ultimately dissatisfied with their approach to the defensive line. I remember feeling slightly whelmed by the picks in day 2. I talked myself into them a little bit. I didn't love, I wasn't over the moon
Slightly?
over Omar Norman-Lott selection in the D tackle spot. And then, I liked Gelati. I thought there was a lot of qualities that he brought to the table. I thought, I think it's a pretty good pick, but there was a little bit more whelmed than I think there has been in the past. Felt like maybe the Chiefs felt like they really they kind of felt a little cornered to be addressing both edge and defensive tackle. And by the way, I think Gelati did some good things this year, and the team loves Omar Norman-Lott, so hopefully that pans out. But does feel like, just listening to that, it does feel like the Chiefs are going to be really intentional about how they approach the defensive line probably before they even get to the draft. It feels like there's going to be some answers up front.
I mean, hopefully.
They tried to try it for Boye Mafe at the deadline. There's another example of it not working out there. Maddie, go ahead there. I was just adding a little bit.
No, Craig, you go second on this show now.
You should. Shirt brothers and whatnot.
Shirt brothers and whatnot. No, who could have figured that, the bad process that we talked about before the season was going to be bad. Trading a pick for Derek Nottie, cutting Mike Pennell after both of those guys largely looked the same, playing Jerry Tillery the significant number of snaps that they did this season. I know it didn't seem like much, but boy, did it feel like a ton. I don't know. The whole process was bad. And I know everybody hates when we talk about bad process, but even the Omar Norman-Lott pick, who, again, remember, Andy Reid threw completely under the bus for, hey, the pass rush would have been better, but Omar Norman-Lott got hurt. Omar Norman-Lott, who barely had pass rushing reps throughout the season. But
Can I pause real quick?
Yeah, please.
I watched every Omar Norman-Lott snap this season. It's really easy to watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't see what everyone in the building saw, but
right. That's one of those that it's difficult to equate the moves that they made to, oh wow, well, we were really kind of hoping for things. First of all, you selected a penetrating 3 technique, bulked him up and tried to play him at 1 technique so you can get him on the field next to Chris Jones, partially because you hated the nose tackles that you had in-house. And maybe that's gambling on Fabian Levette. Maybe that's, trying to find a guy within your organization that you can make that work with. But, draft a nose tackle then. Don't try and figure out a way to try and shoehorn somebody in here. And then from a pass rush perspective, yeah, it was they draft Gelati. You were hoping that Felix took another step. You were hoping that Charles Omenihu, another year removed from the injury, like that one, I can legitimately understand them thinking, hey, started to look a little bit better towards the end of last year. Let's see what he brings this year. I get that one. That one makes perfect sense to me. But, and, you know, you couldn't expect that George Karlaftis was maybe not going to be quite as good this year as we've seen him finish some other years. But a lot of these other things were very clear, you know, even before the season started. And so the fact that they're saying, well, yeah, we got to address this. We were a little surprised that it didn't work out the way that it was. I'm not sure how you get blindsided by it with that particular group of people, Maddie.
I mean, I think they have a tendency to do this. Every couple years, there'll be a position group that's clearly not very good, and they'll go into the offseason or the draft, and they won't really add much to it. And then it'll be a lot about like, hey, we're expecting these guys to develop. We're expecting, you know, we think this day 2 pick might hit and be able to play for us, but then we're really expecting some of our young guys to develop because we have invested something in this position in the past. And we kind of think that these guys that are slightly injured will come back and be better. Mike Dana coming back, getting healthier, being better. Omenihu coming back, being better from his injury. Felix, maybe he's finally ready. It's year 3. It's a big step. Yeah, we'll add a body or two in the draft and it'll get better. Problem is, like, they haven't always worked out very well for them when they did this. They did this in 2023 with the wide receiver room, right? The whole thing was that MVS was going to be as good. Kadarius Toney was going to get better. Sky Moore was going to get better, and they were going to be fine. Guess what? They weren't. And it kind of feels like they did the same thing with the defensive line room this year, specifically edge. I think defensive tackle might be a little bit different of a conversation, just because they've gotten by with Chris Jones and a clown car full of rotating bodies that they've kept the same few guys in for years, right? Like, they haven't really tried to do much in D tackle, but the defensive end room, they've got a lot of guys they've brought in. I think they just expect them to be better than they were. And when they weren't, they're like, oh no, we have to fix that going forward, as if it was a surprise. And it shouldn't have been a surprise, but I do think they were a little blindsided by it. Because again, they've done this before in other positions. They have a belief that they are going to develop guys, and they should. If you don't think you can develop them, they shouldn't be on your roster. It's just when you go all in on only developing or guys returning to form from an injury, it's a little risky, and it's come back and bit them a couple times now.
For what we think about Omar Norman Lauder, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, for what I think about Omar Norman Lauder, like, yes, he's a functional contributor. I just think it's just from a 63rd pick perspective. Like, I don't know if he's 63rd impact kind of contributor right now, and it didn't really seem like that. So, like, to a degree, like, I agree. I think the interior wasn't as much of the issue as much as it is just the edge position has just it's gone by the wayside, and they haven't been able to stay healthy. They haven't they haven't made great decisions there. They've ran it back a lot. They've continued to run it back a lot. Then it hasn't boded well. The contract year was not undefeated for Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu lost the contract year. Sad to say. So they didn't get a ton of help outside of Chris and George Karlaftis to a degree. I think Gelati flashed and did some good things, but I don't know. I mean, I think you're signing and drafting over him in this free agency class and potentially in this draft class, and he can be a meaningful contributor, but I don't know if it's going to be much more beyond that. So they got a lot of work to do. I think I do feel like, and I almost brought it up, I do think that I think that could be a place. I do think that could be a place where the biggest swing happens. I wouldn't be stunned if the biggest swing happens along the defensive line. I hope it is. I think that would be. I think that's probably where I would want the biggest allocation of resources going in the offseason, is a significant investment along the defensive line, especially at the defensive end spot. And I wouldn't be stunned to see them being active in the trade market if somebody becomes available too.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at some of the other position groups that, like, you'd like to add the Chiefs, have people that you have them go out and pursue in free agency. They're not strong. And so, like, you're probably going to vastly overpay, even more so than you typically would in free agency. And then on top of that, the Chiefs have no money right now. They've got to clear a whole bunch of room right now. And in order to clear some of that room, they may have to move on from some key contributors that they would then have to backfill there. But yes, all things equal, I completely agree with that. I do think that they like Boye Mafe. I don't know if they like him enough to where they're like, oh, we feel great about him being defensive end 2 with George Karlaftis as defensive end 1 and Chris Jones at defensive tackle, and we feel really good about that group. I don't know if that's enough. Certainly they were willing to do that last year. We'll see. We'll see what they do there. But it feels like that level of move, not somebody that's going to be Trey Hendrickson or something like that that's going to cost them $25-30 million. They're not playing in that range. But if you wanted to tell me that they were going to add Mafe, maybe a Roy Lopez to try and fill in a little bit as a one technique on the inside there, and they're going to say, hey, we're also hoping that Ashton Gelati takes that step. We've got a couple of other insurance picks. Maybe we address somebody early in round 2, maybe edge is the position that we look at there. I get the moves. Like that feels like it is a significant investment in the defensive line, but it feels like kind of a course correction while still building around Chris Jones, who you are stuck with. You're not moving on from that contract or that player this offseason, and George Karlaftis, that they believe is one of their building blocks there. Those are the two guys right now. And if Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati come along, I think that will be a pleasant surprise for this organization.
George Karlaftis played through injury too. That is the buzz that's coming out of there right now as well.
He did.
I think a wrist injury is, I think, what people are saying. So hopefully there's some truth to that. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's probably where they're going to spend. That's probably where the highest price they'll spend in free agency, or should be, right? Like if you look at what's available in free agency, they should probably spend the most money adding players to the defensive line room. Yeah, they don't have the money to go out and add a defensive end 1. They're not going to go overpay somebody more than what they're just giving George Karlaftis. You're looking at and below that, but that's what they still need that, right? So we'll see who that ends up being. I could see them adding a couple names because they do have massive holes at the defensive tackle. Defensive tackles, if you just want some run stop, it's really not that expensive. Like it's not as cheap as it was 3-4 years ago, but like it's not breaking the bank if you want to add somebody to come in and play next to Chris Jones and help defend the run. It's not that bad. And I do know that everybody likes to poke fun at Omar Norman-Lott coming in and adding weight and playing 1 tech. Those are his best reps. He doesn't move like a 3 tech. He doesn't have the body control like a 3 tech. He is explosive upfield for a step or two, but he doesn't have like the flexibility and the body movement of a Chris Jones. Obviously he's not Chris Jones, but I just mean when you watch 3 techs around the league, that's not how he moves. So if he can play at 315 pounds and be a penetrating nose tackle, that's probably his best role. So like if that's what the Chiefs meant to do last year, and this wasn't player driven in terms of adding weight, I think I kind of get it. His best reps this last year were against the run, not the pass. He's at his best, I think, just staying linear right in front of him for 1 to 2 steps. So, like, I don't know if this was their goal with him. I do think that people are kind of too harsh on the fact that they had him add weight, because even when you could watch him at Tennessee, it wasn't his athleticism that was winning. It was 1-step explosion. It was the power he generated, and that's all still going to be there at 315 pounds. It's just a slightly different position. So I am curious to see this year what their usage for him is. Were they trying to pigeonhole him into a nose tackle type spot, or is that really where they see him because he might be better there?
Cut to him weighing in at 295 pounds in camp.
Yeah. Probably.
If he reworks the body, and that's a possibility. He does not have the body of a guy that can be, I don't know, it's just like the body makeup doesn't look like a 3 tech, right? It's like very, very hip heavy, very middle of body heavy, right? It just doesn't look like a typical 3 tech. And so I kind of get why the Chiefs would consider adding weight. Now, the counter is just get a guy that doesn't need to add weight to do the same thing. Not going to hear me argue. But if they saw something that they really liked from him in that regard, I kind of get why they would go that route. And I do think he had a couple nice plays versus run this past year before getting injured. So I'm holding out a sliver of hope that he is at least in the rotation, like you guys said, but like, I wonder if he's not already playing the position he's going to be in. That's kind of, I think, more where my head leans to him. I'm just what I'm curious about.
You have hope that he's
then they need another 3 tech.
Yeah.
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 So if I asked you, hey, the Chiefs signed Boye Mafe to a 3-year, $36 million deal, and then signed AJ Epinesa to a 1-year, $6 million deal, how do you feel?
I mean, I guess I feel fine about it.
Yeah.
Money
Just throwing
stuff. No, money stuff is weird. I would have to go look at like direct contracts, and just like say, hey, does that compare to other guys around the league at that price point? But like that sounds generally acceptable. You got 2 defensive ends that are better than Gelati, better than anybody they put across from George last year, right? So like you clearly improved your depth. You probably removed a desperate need to get a defensive end in the top 100 picks. So now you go a different way because you added 2 guys to play that position. So like, I'm not against it whatsoever. I don't know if you have to add both guys though, I guess would be my only other caveat is like maybe spend that Epinesa money elsewhere.
I wanted to just throw a scenario out because you brought 2 up, and I just wanted to throw one out to see what it would, how you would feel about it, and because there is a follow-up. But you go, Craig.
I mean, that means your room is probably, Maddie, I don't even know if you're adding anybody outside of the top 100, really.
It's full,
at that
right?
Because your room at that point, I assume you're moving on from Mike Dana at that point. You feel comfortable moving on from Mike Dana. It's George Karlaftis. It would be Boye Mafe, AJ Epinesa, Ashton Gelati, and Felix is your defensive end 5. And I mean, even regardless of what you think about Felix, he's a fine dude. More than a fine defensive end 5. Like, you know, you're okay with having that in your room. Is it the best pass rush in the league? No, absolutely not. Nobody's trying to say that, but that's functional, especially with Chris Jones on the inside. That is very, very functional, and you can get by with that. If they decided that that's where they wanted to put their eggs and that's the baskets that they wanted to put them in, it makes sense. Especially, I like the 1-year deal for Epinesa because at that point you can say, okay, thanks. You proved it. That's great. We're ready for Ashton Gelati to step into that role at that point and move him a little farther up the depth chart. That is, we talk about bad process. That's good process.
The reason the follow-up was really going to be around the draft because like you brought up the 2 edge thing, and I was just like, I wonder what that would do to the draft. If Ruben Bain's on the board at 9, what are you doing then? You know what I'm saying? Like
I think you make that move if you're confident that Ruben Bain's not on the board. Brett Veach, for any criticism that we give of him, he's pretty good at reading what's going to be there. He's done a decent job, especially in the first round, of knowing who is going to be there and why they're going to be there and things like that. So I don't think you make that move if you think that Ruben Bain is going to be there.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of those guys that we said at their price points, I guess, rule you out from taking Ruben Bain if you have him as a tier better than everybody else. But there's a chance that pick comes up and you're like, hey, we have a running back and a defensive end with the same grade. Now we can take the running back instead because we don't have to take the defensive end. So like I could actually see the avenue for you, like say going into the draft saying that's a better plan of attack for the Chiefs perspective than it would be leaving a bigger hole there. But I do feel like going 2 contracts into the defensive end room after last year doing George Karlaftis and their current cap situation is a lot of money into one position of the roster, especially with Epinesa on a 1-year deal. I know George's money is not huge this upcoming year, but it's not nothing. So it feels like there's enough money tied up into that room that 2 guys would seem to be a little bit much entering what I think is a pretty good edge draft class, and you are picking at the top of every round, which is different than most years.
I am so curious what context clues we might get about the Chiefs draft with what this team does in free agency. And that's the thing that just I'm so fascinated at how the draft may or may not guide what the Chiefs might do at 9. That's one of the things I'm just so fascinated with here is what it looks like there. There is still one prominent spot on the Chiefs coaching staff that is available. The running back role has not been filled. It is February 4th. And the only news that we have to this point So the Chiefs have requested, this is according to Adam Schefter, the Chiefs requested to interview Raiders running back coach, DeLand McCullough, for their running back position. McCullough was with the Chiefs from 2018 to 2020. So, I think the easy way of looking at this is that the Raiders are hiring Clint Kubiak to be the head coach of the team. Clint Kubiak is coaching this weekend for the Seahawks, and then Clint Kubiak will have a say over what happens to the coaching staff from there. If that's the case, kind of feels like all directions are pointing to DeLand McCullough coming back to the coaching staff. Do you think that is the case, or do you think the door is still open for somebody outside, knowing we've heard one name, we've heard radio silence, it's February, and nothing can really truly be decided about DeLand McCullough until, I don't know, a week from now? What say you, Maddie?
Well, okay. McCullough's a very good running back coach. I want to get this out of the way. I think he's a very good running backs coach. I think I've seen people say like he's one of the best in the world. I don't know enough about running back coaches. I don't know if we have a big enough sample size to say one of the best, but he's very good. He's very good at what he does. So the Chiefs bringing him back is in no way, shape, or form a bad hire. It is hilarious when Andy Reid gets up there and says change can be good and brings back another one of his prior coaches. That's funny. We can laugh at that. We're allowed to laugh at that. That doesn't mean he's a bad coach or would be a bad hire. So I wanted to get that out of the way because I know that's on some people's minds on both sides of the coin there. That said, I'm not as certain as Kent that he's definitely available. I mean, if you're Clint Kubiak, you're getting hired late. You're coaching. How many coaches are you going to really be able to bring with you from Seattle? I imagine they want to keep a lot of those guys there. Who is still available that you're going to know to come in and be your running backs coach? And are the Raiders, who seem to be playing with a little bit more money now, but are they going to be willing to buy out a contract of a guy that we all agree is a good running backs coach and hire another one? Is that really something that they want to handle right now? So obviously, Clint Kubiak gets in there and McCullough's like, hey, I don't like your system at all. I don't think it's a good match for me and you to work together. Okay, what can you do? But I don't think it's some kind of sure thing that they're definitely not going to get along or anything like that, which leads me to my real issue. How are you sitting around waiting for this? How is this your plan, is to sit around and wait to be that every other coach is getting hired? Everyone's putting together their staffs now. There's two teams that technically are still in a little bit of turmoil and they just kind of figured it out. And really it's just one team. There's one team right now not making coaching hires for their team. That's the Raiders, because their head coach is getting ready to prepare for a Super Bowl. Everybody else is filling out their staff. It's funny to just be sitting on your hands being we kind of got to wait and see what happens with McCullough. We got to see what happens there first. And maybe they've interviewed other guys. I know it's not always public. They could have very well put in requests for other running back coaches that are under contract or whatever. It feels like there's a chance they come out of this with their hands going I don't know what's next, because what if he might not get out of there? That's the weird spot.
I don't know. I mean, Todd Pinkston's still available, Maddie. I don't know if you're interested in that hire. Is Deshaun Jackson available to coach running backs for this football team?
I think Riley Cooper would enjoy Missouri.
John Gruden.
No, stop.
I'm so mad that Gruden got Craig out of my laugh of my good joke.
I don't see how. I think he's primary. I think he is the primary option that they'd like to add to the staff. Yeah. And I think that's a good option. I know that people are already jumping to the fact that McCullough helped recruit Jeremiah Love. And I know that's a name that comes up very often with the Chiefs. Love is a very big fan of McCullough. If you've ever read an interview where he talks about him, he credits him with a lot of his development and success. That's obviously a big tie and an easy tie. And frankly, if the Kansas City Chiefs are able to land that hire, that is going to be the talking point that you are going to hear relentlessly from national media during draft day if the Kansas City Chiefs select Jeremiah Love. And yeah, it's good. At this point, I don't foresee them trying to cheapen out on this particular hire. Andy has been abundantly clear that he lays a lot of the blame of the offense at the feet of the fact that the running game sucked. he went out of his way to remove Todd Pinkston from this role. They have a plan. They had a plan with everything else that we've seen so far. They have moved fairly quickly with everybody else. I think at this point, you would expect that they either have some assurances that McCullough is going to be available, or they've got somebody in their back pocket that's not currently on a staff that they feel pretty good at prying away from wherever they are. Maybe, the Browns, as they build out their staff, are moving up from Deuce Staley. Maybe Anthony Lynn is willing to accept a lateral move to come to Kansas City. He's tired of Washington after Cliff Kingsbury is gone. Who knows what they have in their back pocket there? This feels like attempt number one, with them also knowing that there's something else there, because they did the same thing with wide receivers coach. They just moved on from Connor Embry immediately. They hired a very well-established wide receivers coach. Andy Reid did not go and throw his entire wide receiver room and coach under the bus. He came out in the postseason presser and did that explicitly with his running back room, explicitly with the coaching, and explicitly with the running design, essentially, and how they were able to execute it. They're not going to sit here and go, oh, well, maybe we'll try somebody else out at this position, and maybe we'll feel comfortable with all of this. This feels like attempt number one. I agree with Maddie. I don't see why Kubiak, unless he really feels like he's going to be able to build a staff and he's already got a running back coach in mind, and maybe this is just all a formality. McCullough's just waiting for the thing where it's just, okay, Kubiak has taken over, the contract is signed, cool. I am done here. I am moving to Kansas City, and it's just a formality to get to that point. Maybe that's all it is, but I don't see how the Chiefs don't have a backup plan for this position with everything else that they have done and how quickly they have moved on from guys and immediately filled them, regardless of what we think about those guys. This has not been a slow process for those positions. This is really the only position that we're staring at going, what's actually happening here? I think there's some assurances from either McCullough or the rest of the league that they're getting a guy that they feel is competent.
Yeah, you could see the Raiders just being like, we're just going to make you wait this out a little bit.
We're going to mess with you a little bit.
You don't need to get to that Jeremiah Love tape and really start evaluating it yet. DeLand, we're good. You can sit here and kind of wait things out until the Clint Kubiak stuff clears, or it could just be that he's already the guy. I think it's just notable. There's one name we've heard tied to it from Adam Schefter, and it's him. It really does feel like it might just be a formality. And if that is the case, the fresh ideas are coming from Chad O'Shea and the analysts. Like, that's really the quality control, the analysts, they cleaned house there. And then they brought in Chad O'Shea. So, and look, it could work. Not good.
Well, you say from the analysts, but the analysts might just be more internal hires. Like, they haven't hired anybody new to those spots yet either.
It's the quality control coaches that they've hired new people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say with the running back coach, I wonder if McCullough, there's an answer there. He's option A or whatever it may be. Like, there's plenty of options. I also wonder if Eric Bieniemy being your offensive coordinator makes him think running back coach specifically is a little bit more like, we can fill this later. It's awesome if we get McCullough because we like having him around. We have familiarity. We can continue to talk about how we all get along and can speak the same language, because apparently that's what matters more than anything else. But if you don't get him, you have a running back coach as offensive coordinator. And so, maybe it's not as important in their mind as something else. Craig did have another point, though. It would have been really cool to hear them request to interview Deuce Staley, because not only does Andy have some experience with him, having coached him, he was also a running backs coach, not under Andy Reid, but under Ben Johnson. And if you want to sell me that Eric Bieniemy's bringing in Ben Johnson's going to save us, how about we go get another coach who spent even more time under Ben Johnson and Deuce Staley, and now you have two guys that can bring that in. There's a language they could speak together, and then they could help translate it to what you have. It's just not saying they have it, not saying it's the perfect hire, because maybe there's a reason they don't want Deuce Staley. It's just, if you really want to sell people that hey, Bieniemy can bring some of Ben Johnson's offense, why not also interview a running back coach who worked under Ben Johnson, who has been a proven good running back coach? Deuce Staley's got nothing but results at that position as well. Like, he's proven to be a good running backs coach. So it would be nice to have seen them also interview him or anybody else to go along. Yeah, they could have, and it's just not public. That's very possible.
Yeah, we didn't hear about any of the potential hires for a wide receivers coach. It was just, it's Chris O'Shea.
Chad.
Okay.
I know.
The funny thing is, if there's ever a time to maybe have a wide receiver background at running back coach, it would be with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. Because you're right. Like,
don't.
If you not, it's look. All I'm saying is, like, if you really just wanted to like use that title to get somebody into the building, like, this would be the time to do it. Because Eric Bieniemy's, he's gonna be harping those details for the running back room.
Well, yeah, Greg Lewis switched to running backs coach while Eric was the offensive coordinator. He went from wide receiver coach to running backs coach.
Exactly.
And then he's only coached wide receiver since.
I mean,
Yeah.
Let's say this: if it's Deuce Staley or McCullough, who's the better running back coach of those two guys? Who's got more clout?
That is a really tough ask.
It's a really tough ask. From people that I trust, it's McCullough. It is. It's McCullough. Staley right now is a man without a ship at the moment here. So maybe it is just simply he's plan B, and we just don't know it yet.
I think that's a little bit tough because, like, you saw the Lions running backs get really good while he was there, and they've maintained that, but they were good whether they're the Panthers. That's when the Chuba Hubbard like started to be good enough to get paid. And then he goes off to the Browns where Quinshon Judkins is a rookie, looked really good. And like, he was getting a lot out of them.
He did.
Whereas if you go to McCullough, there's clearly success with Jamal Charles in Kansas City, but he was already developed. He goes to Notre Dame, which absolutely goes to Indiana, but then Notre Dame, ton of success there. But like, is that as translatable as coaching NFL players saying that you have a guy that's going to be picked top 10 and did good at Notre Dame? I don't know if I can tell you which one's better. I guess I don't know the answer is more of my stance.
And I know people want to bring up Ginty as well. Ginty didn't look as great this year. Man, that's a mess. That's a mess of an organization. I'm not pinning that on McCullough. That's got very little to do with that.
So I think they're both good is my final answer.
I think they're both good. I think either one of those hires I'm happy about. Very happy about. Yeah.
I am too. I think it's a good hire either way. It is funny, like, if they just go back to the well. I just saw this funny quote. It was underneath the Schefter tweet. Is the first thing at the top. Andy Reid is so terrified of meeting new people.
They don't speak the same language. How can they get along?
It's just so funny.
They don't know how to communicate with the players here.
I don't even think that's
Never mind that there's like two players that are still here from when McCullough was here. He knows how to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Listen, when you get to Andy's age, it's hard to make new friends.
We're learning that. We're learning that on the fly. Normally, we are predicting a Chiefs Super Bowl. It's been a long time since we have it. I think it's been, 2022, the last time that we weren't predicting a Chiefs Super Bowl. We're still doing it before we get out of here. Craig, why don't you tell me who is winning this weekend?
Seahawks by a mile. I don't see how this is a close football game, personally. Regardless of what you think about the Denver Broncos and Patrick Surtain, his prediction that this is going to be a multi-score Seahawks win, I am in lockstep with. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball against the Patriots front. I think that JSN is going to find ways to get open. I think they're going to be crafty and build off of the things that the Patriots do well are building game plans and taking away things that they know teams are going to do. The things that the Seahawks have done well this season are throwing curveballs and making sure that people are, zigging when they're zagging. And then when you flip to the other side of the ball, I love Drake May. I think he's a good football player. I think he is going to be up there in the upper echelons of quarterbacks as we move forward here. It ain't time yet, especially not against the Seahawks defense. I think this is a big Seahawks win. I'm saying 2-score win at minimum for the Seahawks. And frankly, Sam Darnold doesn't even have to play well for them to do that. I just think it's lopsided in the Seahawks' favor.
I mean, I think the Seahawks are definitely a better team. And if this was like a game that you played out 10 times or some kind of series, I think they win comfortably. But it's one game and Sam Darnold's the quarterback. I can't have the confidence that Craig just had. And I understand that Sam Darnold's played well in the playoffs. He hasn't thrown an interception in like the last 3 games that he's played. He's also led the league in interceptions this year. It's just, I'm going to need to see Sam Darnold to do it in the Super Bowl before I'm ready to trust him to not throw out a stinker. And I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be able to lean on their run game against the New England Patriots, because the New England Patriots defense has been pretty good versus the run. Like, it's something that they've done well. So then it becomes like, hey, Sam, can you move the ball at all? And then we're now getting to the point where maybe he does start making mistakes. Now, I don't have a lot of hope the Patriots offense can do anything either. Drake May has been absolutely awful in the playoffs. He has been downright dreadful as a quarterback here in the playoffs. And I don't foresee their offensive line doing a whole lot better in this game. I don't foresee their run game doing anything against Seattle. I think you might have a game that looks kind of like that, like the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl. What would that have been? The 2018 Super Bowl that season. I think this might kind of look like that. It was played in 2019, right? But it was the
played in 2019, 2018
yeah.
season. Yes.
Yeah, I think it might look a lot like that, where clearly now it's just the opposite foot. Clearly the Seahawks are better. It's just close because they're not a complete team. They don't have enough juice to pull away, but they're always in control. So I think the Seahawks to win. I just think it might be a little bit of a nail biter for a while and be kind of sloppy.
I can very easily see this being an ugly football game. All those reasons contextually, because like Drake May has not handled some of the better defenses particularly well. The Patriots are starting a rookie left side of the offensive line.
And Will Campbell's been buns too.
They're Joe Tooneying a little bit with Will Campbell over there at left tackle. And I think since he's been hurt, since he came back off the IR, I think Will Campbell's looked more like a guard than a tackle. So I think that's tough. I think that's tough. It's just an entirely rookie left side of the offensive line. So like, do they just try to go bully that side over there and cave it in like the Eagles did to the Chiefs a calendar year ago? I could see that being part of the game plan. So yeah, I still lean Seahawks. I don't know if I have a ton of confidence that it's a runaway. I think I probably more close to where Maddie is. I think it's an ugly football game. I think I'm gonna make a delicious pulled pork sandwich. Is what I'm gonna do.
Good.
I'm gonna have
that sounds good.
Yeah.
I just keep looking at the teams that the Patriots have had to beat to get here all season, and it's been bad. Like it's been legitimately bad at this point. And if Bo Nix was playing in that game for the Broncos and they win that 10-7, I'm probably changing my tune a little bit, because that's a better football team. That's probably the best football team that they would have had a win over all season long, because the way CJ Stroud played the week before, oh my God, that was awful.
Yeah,
so I just don't see a whole. Oh, wow. You should have done that before the game. Maybe that was the problem. I don't know, man. Like I look at the rest of the schedule here. I don't see them. They haven't beat good teams. They just played a bunch of bad teams all year long. And credit to them for doing the thing, playing who's on your schedule. That's not me, throwing anything under there. But I think the Seahawks are just a level up from everybody that they have played all year long. And frankly, anybody who lost to the Las Vegas Raiders this season should not be hoisting a Lombardi at the end of all of this, nor should it be even remotely close.
That would be hilarious, though. A hilarious little note in the 2025 season that's been absolutely bizarre. So yeah, sweeping Seahawks.
Hang the banner in Vegas.
Yeah. And then you get the guy that lost to him in the Super Bowl to be your head coach next. That's going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Never wearing a hoodie inside.